Welcome to This Place Matters, brought to you by the Community Development Partnership in Eastham. The CDP supports an array of programs that create opportunities for people to live, work, and thrive on the Lower Cape, because this place matters. Please check out the CDP's current programs and services supporting safe, stable, and affordable housing, strong local businesses, and a sustainable future. Online at capecdp.org. or call us at 508-247-7873, extension 22. I'm your host, Susan Lindquist, and my guests today are Nate Church, who's the owner of Outside Cleaners, and Darren Wotherspoon, who is a website developer extraordinaire.
Graphic designer.
Close enough. Graphic designer.
Websites or something I do, yeah.
All the things, all the things. I'm so glad you're both here. I had a great time checking out the things that you both do. And once again, I'm just sort of aware of how much I don't know what's going on in the world. I had no idea that we had an outside cleaner in Brewster. Talk about it. How did you start that business, Nate?
Sure. Well, when I moved to Cape Cod 5 years ago, I learned real quick that it's a different work environment out here.
Where did you move from?
Upstate Vermont at the time.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yep. And so I learned real quick about the seasonality of employment and somewhat limited job opportunities. But what happened was I was trying to get a loan for a house. And while I was doing that, my loan officer was kind of grumbling about couldn't find anyone to clean his deck. And I said, well, I'll do it. Sure.
Here you are.
And here I am. Yeah, I did that. And actually his neighbor asked me if I could do theirs, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great. What were you doing before?
I've had a number of careers.
You weren't always a deck washer.
No. No. I've been a property manager. I owned a pet sitting business. I was a locksmith. I'm a degreed engineer. So I've
multi-talented.
Multi something, yes.
Yeah, we'll go into that part later on.
Okay.
Great. That's terrific. And it's obviously working out because you were the recipient of one of the Mass Growth Capital grants.
Yes,
that
indeed.
The CDP was awarded. So why don't you introduce the person that you called to help you out?
Sure. Well, to help with my business branding, from my logo to my website, I've hired Darren Wotherspoon with DW Design in Wellfleet, and he's really doing all the creative, hard stuff that I knew I needed, but just I wasn't going to be able to do myself.
Well, if you wouldn't mind me saying this, I went online, obviously, to check you both out. You need a little help.
Yes. No,
so I think the grant is going to be very productive for you. Darren, I'm so glad you're here. I have been doing this show for probably, I don't know, 2.5 or 3 years. I check everybody out, obviously, to do a little research before we start. You have the clearest, simplest website of anyone I've ever looked up.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome. I'm not just blowing smoke in your face on this. I'm absolutely serious. It's so simple to follow. It's so clear. I would have hired you in a second if I needed to advertise something that I do, but I don't. But boy, oh boy, a great job on your own. So.
Well, thank you.
So,
and thanks for having me.
Oh, we're delighted to have you here, really. So before we start talking about this grant and how exciting it really is, how did you get to be here?
Well, I'm not from here originally.
I'd never guess it from your voice.
I'm from Scotland originally, in Glasgow, and I met my wife, who is from here. She born and bred in Wellfleet, and I met her at college, University of Edinburgh, and she described how beautiful Cape Cod was. And in 1998, I came here for a summer vacation with her, and I fell in love. And so when I went back, graduated in 2000, I came over.
And
we were married in 2002. and we lived in Boston for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Or, no, 4 years. And
were you doing
so
graphic design there?
Yeah, I started in publishing.
Yep.
In Boston, and then kind of graduated to the design department, and managed the production department of all the design of the book covers, the interiors of the book. And from there, my wife wanted to get back to Wellfleet, beautiful Cape Cod, so we moved down in 2005.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting a job for a company in Brewster called OpenEye Communications.
Yeah.
And they were actually the company who we developed the CDP's new logo about 5 years ago. So it's funny, throughout the years of me being on Cape Cod, I always gravitate around the CDP.
Isn't it an interesting thing? I mean, and as you will find, after the show gets broadcast, people will come up to you and say that.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. It's the CDP does so much that people don't even know about.
Yeah.
In so many different ways. So
yeah, it's funny when you meet people.
Yeah.
The people who have never heard of it have certainly heard, or they know of people who have benefited.
That's
from
right. It's true.
So it's a special organisation.
It is indeed.
And so it wasn't too long after that OpenEye Communications kind of bit the dust. Times were hard. The economy crashed, and I went freelance.
Yeah.
And so since 2009,
pretty risky.
Yeah, since 2009, I've been myself primarily freelance, and so yeah, it's been great. It's touch wood. It's
doing all right.
It's been doing all right.
That's good.
Rock steady.
This place does matter. And
it
if
does.
you can find work to support yourself while you're living here, it's even better.
Yes.
There's no question. So the money for the grant came in, I don't remember exactly when, a couple of months ago. It was awarded in January, I think, or February.
That sounds right. Yeah.
And it was offered to the CDP clients who had done they had to have done a number of special things. They had to either have been one of the green clients, or they had to have a new business loan, or have been in business, was it for 3 years? That, I'm trying to remember exactly. The stipulations were pretty stringent, but still allowed a lot of people to apply for that money. The CDP was out of the money that was awarded in the state, got the second largest amount. I was really delighted to see that when I checked out the, I don't know if I can hold this up. I don't know if, this is the booklet that comes from the state, from the Mass Growth Capital Corporation. It's a pretty nice little piece, pretty showy, not very well organized in terms of content, I didn't think. But with a little help, I think, Darren, you could have done a wonderful job on this. But the CDP received $95,000 to proceed with this, and they shared it with the Cape Cod Commercial Fishermen's Alliance, and they've expended now $20,000 or $25,000 to a number of different people who applied for and received the grant. How did you decide to do it?
It was easy for me. Basically, I had been in contact with Darren last year about getting his help for my business. I had saved up money based on our conversations, and then I got Lyme's disease, and that was a financial setback for me. With although I was covered with health insurance, it was a high deductible and all the rest. So there went that money, and then just a couple months after that, Darren came to me and he said, well, he had heard about this grant program, and he knew that I'd gotten certified level 1 Cape and Island Green by the CDP, so I was already sort of in the system. So it was the right thing at the right time for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And before I want to go right back to the grant, but talk a little bit about what you're cleaning houses in a green way. Sure.
So. I clean properties, buildings from the outside, so roofs, decks, patios, siding, tennis courts. And traditionally, that work has been done with a lot of either caustic or toxic chemicals, bleach, TSP, all sorts of biocides. But it turns out that you can do a great job using chemicals or processes that aren't nearly so harsh on the environment. I like it because it's easier to work with.
Of course.
There's
better for you.
It's way better for me.
Yeah.
There's less risk of damaging the landscaping, of polluting the groundwater, and especially just being in our special place out here on Cape Cod, I think it's our obligation to do what we can to
Totally.
use the best practices we can.
I totally agree with that, really. But it's just as effective.
Sometimes it's more effective, sometimes it's not as effective, so it
Yeah.
really is a case-by-case
Yeah.
dependency.
So you really pray for mold.
If it wasn't
In a
for
good
mold,
way.
I wouldn't have a business, that's right. But we've got the perfect environment for it.
No kidding.
Look around you, those black streaks on
you
roofs.
Can, you can
and
see it everywhere, anywhere, and lichen all over things. It's
You got
just
it.
amazing.
You got it, yep.
Really. Well, good. You'll be in business a long time.
I hope so.
Unless we have natural changes. Well, we'll not even go into that today. So you knew about the grant, Darren, and
I did.
you called him.
I did, yeah. I knew about the grant through another client, Lola's Local Food Lab.
Who's another recipient.
Kim
yeah.
Skapich, and she's
Yep.
another recipient of the grant.
Right.
And she contacted me to do the website, knowing that she had been approved for
Yes.
the grant.
Yeah.
So through her, I knew of the grant, and I was in talks with Nate. So I put him onto the CDP, and it just was a perfect match.
Yeah,
Within
absolutely.
a couple of days, Nate contacted me and said, this is great. I've been approved. Let's do this. And
Is it done?
really
Is it
worked out.
completed?
It is completed, and people can go and check it out today. Outsidecleaners.com.
It goes up today.
It goes up today. Yeah.
Oh, how
So
exciting!
we should, barring any technical difficulties,
Well, that's
which I'm
not-
sure there will be none.
I'm sure there will
there
be
never
none.
is, right?
There never is. No.
Not with websites. Nothing goes wrong
No,
with a
no,
website.
nothing ever. Oh, well, that's so exciting. It's wonderful. And you did Lola's too.
I did Lola's.
Logo-
that probably won't be live until next week.
Lola's Local Foods.
Lola's Local Food Lab.
Yeah, it's fabulous.
Say that 5 times.
I can't.
Fast.
And I've actually spent time drinking some of her shrubs, which are fabulous.
fabulous,
They're
yes,
just
they are.
fabulous. And try it after you've had a little shot of vinegar shrub. So, but there were 7 recipients from the CDP, which I think is just wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
You were one, of course, Outside Cleaners, and Lola's Local Food Lab, Big Daddy's Burritos in Provincetown, the Harmon Gallery, and Chiquisette Chocolates. I mean, actually, they don't need such a big website because you can just taste their candies. And
They're
they're
great.
fabulous.
They really
The Local Scoop and Provincetown Alterations. And in fact, in this wonderful little book, Rashida is featured. There's a whole page. I don't know, again, I'm not sure if Michael can get that or not, but she was one of the people that they chose to feature. And it's another success story for the CDP. It's just wonderful. Provincetown Alterations. And Rashida's doing a great job with that. So it's pretty exciting. So you got your money, and you were awarded how much?
I think it was $1,400 that I was awarded.
And then you had to do part of the match,
Yes. Yeah.
25%.
25%.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is manageable.
Absolutely.
$1,400 a little dicey, but
Yeah.
25%
Absolutely.
of that you can handle.
My business is very small. I am a one-man band.
Yeah.
So every dollar matters.
Right.
And
Of course.
this has made a profound difference as to what I'm able to do to promote my business.
Wow. It's just great, really and truly. So
Yeah.
it won't be long before you're hiring teams of people, I'm sure.
Well, won't that be something?
Won't
Yeah.
that be something? We'll have you back up for that one when that happens. You both have spoken about coming to the Cape thinking you're going to do one thing and ending up doing another.
Mhm.
It happens.
Yeah.
It's a very different place.
Yeah.
And you really have to be a creative thinker, as you both
Yeah.
clearly are, because things don't always work out the way you think they're going to. Businesses on the Cape are tenuous,
Mhm.
depending on what the season is like, and the seasonality of whatever it is that you're trying to do. When you arrived, did you think that was going to be the case?
I'm not sure if I really thought about it. For my part, I just knew that I had vacationed here, like everyone else in the world, vacationed here, had great impressions of it, had some friends here, worked here a little bit in the summers, and just knew that's...
What about February?
That's where I needed to be. I'd worked here in the winter, actually.
You had too?
Yep. But, it's one thing to see little snippets, and it's another thing to grind it out.
Absolutely.
And I, being here my 5th year now, it's easy to see why turnover or the rate of coming and going is so high. I heard somewhere it's like 25% of people leave every year, and another 25% comes in.
It's true. And I think it's always been the case. Years and years ago, I worked for the Department of Mental Health, and I was part of the team that hired people. And people would apply for jobs from Cincinnati or Knoxville, Tennessee.
Sure.
And would always start out by saying, I vacationed here. I loved it so much. Now I'm a divorced woman or a divorced man. And the question I would always ask, which is now totally inappropriate, is, do you have a great support system here?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know people? Because if you don't, when you first move here, there's no public transportation. There's no way to get around and meet people.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you don't know some folks to start with, you are a lonely person, and you're one of the next 25% to leave.
Sure.
So I need to take a minute, I think. I just saw Maddie give me the heads up on that, to remind folks that they're listening to WOMR 92.1 FM in Provincetown and 91.3 FM in Orleans. And the show is also aired on LCTV a number of times during the week, and you can find out exactly when it's being aired by going to lctv.org to check out. I think I said that wrong. I think it's lowercapetv.org to check out exactly when it's being shown, if you'd like to see us again during the week. And I also would like to remind you at this time that the CDP has a couple of really great things happening in July. And if you've thought about supporting the CDP in any way, you might want to participate in one or both of the events. One is the 4th of July party that's taking place at Land's End in Provincetown. It's a fabulous event. There'll be a silent auction, I understand. And, of course, it's the best place in the world to watch the fireworks. Couldn't be better. If you want more information about that, go to capecdp.org or call Lily at the CDP at 240-7873, extension 22. That has to be done by Thursday, July the 2nd. But later in the month is the CDP, along with all the other housing organizations on Cape Cod, will be participating in the Bob Murray Housing with Love Walk. And I've done part of that. It's a killer. But people walk from one end of the Cape to the other, raising money by having people sponsor them. And the CDP is participating this year and would love to have your support. And if you want to support a walker, a specific walker, you can check out who the sponsors are. You can support someone from that or any of the other walkers and again, you can do that by going to the events page at the CDP.org website or call Maura at 508-240-7873, extension 25 to find out more. Both really wonderful ways to support the CDP. My guests today are Darren Wotherspoon, who is a website developer and graphic artist, and I want to go back to your covers in just a second as well, and Nate Church, who is the outside cleaner. I like that a lot, and I'm so glad they're here with me this morning. This is fun for me. I am a big reader, and I do judge a book by its cover. I will tell you that. And your covers are fab. I really,
thank you.
Yeah, really. Some of the titles were boring as the devil, as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
a lot of.
I won't even go there, but the design was fabulous. You took a boring subject and made it eye-catching, which is the key with books.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes, I didn't have the luxury of designing for, Chronicle books and doing the new Harry Potter. I was more in academic publishing, so I was trying to make math be sexy, or quantum physics.
You almost did.
Cool.
You almost did it. It really caught my eye. I'm not kidding. There was, I think it was the quantum physics that really has a spicy cover, if you will, as far as quantum physics are concerned.
Yeah.
But it really, nice job on all of them.
Oh, thank you.
You're more than welcome. So, Nate, when you started, how long ago? 5 years?
Back in 2010, I started doing it part-time in evenings. Yep.
So how did you, how did it grow? Was it really word of mouth?
It was word of mouth, and then I was fortunate enough to come into contact with some people in the industry locally. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of thriving businesses, they sometimes got requests for work that were either too small or just a little, maybe too out of the way for them to deal with efficiently. So they were kind enough to refer them to me, and that had a big part in my growth as a business.
Yeah.
And then, I've tried a number of things. I've tried advertising and newspapers, and you do whatever you can to get the word out. More and more businesses just through word of mouth. More and more, though, it's also through people calling me from off Cape, and they saw a video on YouTube, or they saw my website or whatnot, and it's clear that that's becoming the next big thing for my business.
Right.
Yep. So that's why I've got very high hopes for what Darren's work will do in terms of bumping things up to the next level.
Well, I can hardly wait to get off the air and run home and check it out.
Excellent.
I mean, really, it's very launching it. It has to be fun. You must be really excited.
It's a thrill.
Yeah,
it's a thrill, and my business started from nothing. The first job I did, I bought a power washer from Home Depot for $300. Did the job. Drained the gas out of the machine, reboxed it, and brought it back to Home Depot. So I've started from zero, okay? And
hello, Home Depot.
and now, look, I own my own house. I own a truck. I own my trailer. My business is what makes it happen. And this is going to make my business happen even more.
No, it's a real nice success story. Yeah. So one of the things that occurs to me, however, that this is really sort of a warm weather business.
It is, and
March and February must have been a killer for you last year.
Well, as you alluded to earlier, out here you do whatever you need to do to make a living. So I couldn't clean with water the way I usually do, but I was out there raking the snow off roofs.
Smart.
Yeah, people were concerned about ice dams and things of that nature. So, and I got into snow blowing.
Great.
Snow blowing, people who have shell or stone driveways might not want it plowed because it all ends up in a pile.
Isn't it the truth?
So
I know that from personal experience. Thank you.
Found that out this year.
We all did this year.
So there's niches that I'm going to continue to work my way into.
Great.
I've very much need to figure out more for the winter.
Yeah.
That's sort of my next big challenge.
You can go back to the CDP and talk it over with Sheila, and I'm sure you'll come up with something.
I'm sure I will, actually.
It's really terrific. And so you're feeling like now you're busy all year round.
I'm getting there. I'm certainly busy from the time that the snow melts until we see the first flakes.
Yep.
And that's great. What I'm hoping that Darren's help will do for me and for my business is to get me busier in better ways. Yeah. There's work is work, but there's better work, and there's work that I can't make a living on.
I understand. That's great. And Darren, what about you? Full time?
Full time.
Still alone?
Still alone, yeah. If I need to outsource help for certain things, a website.
Sure.
When when clients say, I need a website, and what should I have? And I usually say, well, how long is a piece of string? You can have a small website, 2 pages, that says everything about you, or you can have Amazon.com, which is huge. So, it'd be like asking Nate to, wash the Taj Mahal.
Yeah.
Well, you're probably gonna hire someone to help you. So sometimes I get outside help and I outsource it, and so I have a list of contacts that are reliable, that can help get the job done if I have an elaborate job.
But you've been here long enough that you've made the contacts.
But I do it soup to nuts. I really do. There's not many web developers that are designers, and I was a graphic designer before I got into the web stuff.
And I must say again, I continue to give you plugs, but as I really do look at everybody's website before I do a show, and now that I know some of the others that you've designed, I'm going to go and check those out as well, because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But my gosh, your website is so clear and so easy to follow. That's the key. Thing. It's to be able to get information that you want without all the baloney that you have to go through sometimes to get there. So I'm.
Well, I mean, that really is the key when you're designing a client's website, because, as everyone knows, you go on a website, your attention span is so small that if you don't grab the attention of the viewer,
and we've become so
then
impatient.
You go on to the next thing.
It's so true.
And everyone's on their mobile
so
now.
True.
So you really have to make it easy for the person.
Absolutely.
They can't go searching. Back in the day when you were researching people's websites and trying to find it, and you'd be like, I got it. I found the page. I found the page that I needed. Those days are gone. You have to.
You do it immediately, or you lose.
Or you lose them. You lose them for good, and then they go on to your competitor. So
we're coming to the end of the show. I somewhere I saw a little sign. Over there, and I want to be sure that everybody who's listening or watching knows how to get in touch with both of you. So before we come to the very end of the show, how about if you talk about your contact information?
Sure.
Go first.
I can be reached at phone at 508-209-1972 or by email at nate@outsidecleaners.com.
Pretty simple.
Pretty simple.
New website up today?
That's right.
Great. And Darren, you?
And my name is not so simple. It's Darren Wotherspoon. And it's DarrenWotherspoon.com is my website.
But it's with an O.
It's with
Wotherspoon.
an O. So it's Darren, Darren, and it's Wotherspoon, WOTHERSPOON. Wotherspoon. DarrenWotherspoon.com.
You might want to simplify that.
I know.
At some
well,
point.
you could search Google DW Design Wellfleet.
Perfect.
I should come
DW
up.
Design. Actually, that's exactly what came up. Thank you both so much for being here. It was fun to do. And I also want to say thank you to Maddie Dunn, to Teresa Martin, to Mary Deeg, I think, and to Michael Caleri, who are on the other side of the wall, all of whom engineered the show today. And I want to remind you also that we'll be back next week. And I hope you'll join us again. And if you're listening, I want you to stay tuned now, please, for Wednesday Afternoon Jazz, which is coming right up. Thanks very much. Hope you'll be back next week.